his messenger. Dayanand has studied in Swami's Institute in Alike, which is in Karnataka in India. He studied there in the late 1970s, and he's here to share some of his memories from his student days and also share some of his experiences in the divine physical proximity of our beloved Swami. He comes here to our center today along with his mother. Let us please give a warm welcome to them. Silence.
Saram, everybody. At the lotus feet of Divine Mother Sai, thank you for inviting me over. Thanks for the beautiful bhajans, and let's participate in seeing what Swami has to say today. As Brother Sundar introduced me, I'm from Alike. I don't know how many of you have been to Alike. I never tire of saying this story because I have that enormous pride in having been a student of Swami and of Alike. Just a brief introduction about Alike. Alike was actually started by a very noble young man. His name is Sri Madhyar Narayan Bhatt. These were before the days Swami actually built Parthi and Whitefield. This young man built a group of young men around him, and they were all inspired by Swami, and they decided that they would go all around the country. These were very poor people. They went all around the country collecting funds with the one intention of building institutions worthy enough for Swami to take over. I mean, it was a very high ideal they had. And these group of young people, 20 of them, around initially 20 of these people, went under the guidance of Sri Madhyar Narayan Bhatt. People who knew him tell me that he was a very inspiring figure. To be able to bring together 20 young men who would sacrifice their entire lives. These were and these are total sannyasins. To give everything up for an ideal, and that is to be able to bring forth the rebirth of the Indian way, or the Indian way of education, the Indian way of life, to bring forth and to hold it aloft to the world as an ideal was indeed, I think, one of the most beautiful things. And the Lord is so beautiful. When you put in the effort, He never fails to recognize that. Many years later, Sri Madhyar Narayan Bhatt built Alike and an institution called Muddenhalli. Swami is now turned Muddenhalli into the main Sathya Sai Central Trust, and I have no doubt that Alike will be next. Muddenhalli is close in proximity to both Parthi and Whitefield. The reason I say this story is because what an exalted soul Sri Madhyar Narayan Bhatt must have been. And what is possible for all of us when we decide to give up everything for this Lord. Even before Swami built Parthi, he took these two institutions that Madhyar Narayan Bhatt built, and he said, Narayan Bhatt, you have done your job, now let me do mine. I was one of the first batch of students who came to Alike. If you read Satyam Sundaram Shri Kasturi has a beautiful story about Alike. He says, and he used to tell me too those days, that no other place other than Parthi made him feel Sai's presence as strong as Alike. So if any of you do go down to India to see Swami over this year or next year or whenever you do, please go by and go to Alike. It's in Bangalore, not too far away from Bangalore, and enjoy the bliss that Alike is. It's a true Gurukula. And I must tell you that I came under the tutelage of some of the men that I consider as giants amongst men. This is the Sai mission. If you truly want to know what lies underneath the whole current that we see, the ebbs and the flows, you see men who have just so much to offer to this universe. Coming back to my experiences with Swami, a couple of days ago I was just thinking, Brother Sundar has asked me to talk, and I usually tell Swami, I don't know what I have to say, but you go ahead and say it. So this morning Swami suddenly said to me, as an inspiration, he said, what is it that you have always sought? What is it in all these 25, 30 years that you have spent at my lotus feet? What is it that you have sought? And I said to him, I don't know, Swami. And the word that came to my mind was freedom. I think we all seek freedom in one shape or another. Everything we do, our material acquisitions, our spiritual acquisitions, every minute of our lives is spent in trying to be free of something or the other. To somehow think that all this that we acquire is going to give us a sense of freedom is not exactly a fallacy, but it is at a developmental level that Swami understands and tries to take you to the next level. And such has been the story of my case. There are three aspects of this freedom that Swami has inculcated in me, or he has tried to free me from three things. The externals, or what really binds us. And I will take you through some experiences I've had with him and how he has Swami always succeeds. He has put in me how I have to free myself from the externals. And then there is this whole issue of perception, our own perception of things. And I'll take you through how he has freed me from some of the perceptions I've held. And finally, the internal sense of values we hold and what really dictates our lives unconsciously, and how again I use the word try, sorry Swami, how he frees us from that. When I joined Alike, one of those days, I was so lucky, it was the holidays, and during the holidays I never went home because, when you are with Swami, there is no home, it's all right there. There is no external home. So I was sitting out there, and he made it a point to ask Sri Srinivas to tell that fellow, that coconut tree, to come and I want to talk to him. So, it's such a beautiful feeling to be asked by Swami to talk. And I ran in, and there were around 15, 20 people, and he made me sit for a long time. He said, I'll talk to you at the very end, you be seated. That is a very good sign. And I sat for almost an hour before he let all the other people go, and then he said, okay, come on in. So I went inside. This was around almost on the verge of when I was leaving Alike to go to engineering. I did not know this, but the Lord in His infinite mercy knew that, and He obviously wanted to talk to me. He sat me down and he said, so, how is everything at Alike? I said, Swami, everything is fine, I'm doing well, your grace. And then he opened a whole topic of conversation that, brothers and sisters, even today, I can transport by His grace to those moments, and I can relive those moments any time that I would like to, thanks to His grace. He told me everything about my life from sun up to sundown, all the future, everything, the next 20 years, 30 years, 35 years, where I would go, what I would do, and all the thoughts that I would go through. This beautiful Lord who compresses time so beautifully, in 10 minutes He told me everything, and it's taken me 30 years to get to the gist of everything. And it was so mind-boggling. I sat in front of him and I said to myself, only Swami can do this and get away with it. Because, for any other person to say this, it would be so unnerving at best. Then at the end of it, I said, Swami, it's all your grace. Whatever happens, I had once told you when you asked me, what do you want? I had said, I want you. So you cannot but be with me through everything. And he said, I'll be there. You will always recognize me. You will always recognize that I'm around you. But there will come a point when you will realize that everything that you are doing is not you. It's all me doing it. Brothers and sisters, it has taken me 30 years to finally, fully, totally comprehend that one statement he made. As I walked out, he said to me, there'll be times when I will not see you, but I will always be watching out. So wherever you go, be very careful, because I'm always watching you. I said, thanks, Swami, and I walked past the veranda. This was in Parthi, and around 10 meters later, he suddenly said, coconut tree, and then I suddenly turned around, and he had this beautiful diamond in his hands. Behind my back, he had materialized it. And then he said, Hogu, he said in Kannada, for those who know Kannada, Yella hodru nenpitko, I will make you like this diamond, he said. So I turned around and I said, Swami, thank you so much. I was so full of enthusiasm. Wow, Swami's going to make me a diamond, and it's so beautiful. So, little did I know. I went to the Parthi hostel, Sri Murthy Anna. He's always been a mentor to me, and Swami's always told him, whenever coconut tree is around, I want you to talk to him all the time and guide him, advise him, and take care of him. So I ran to him and said, Murthy Anna, Swami said he's going to make me like the diamond. So he looked at me with that angelic look of his, and he says to me, you're going to go through a lot in life, my friend. Do you know how much it takes an artisan to take a stone and make a diamond out of it? He said. My story with this Lord is that of what a divine artisan does with a stone like me. That is my story. That really is, I think, the summary of my life, because I've been one of his boys who's not, the 70s were very good. We could talk to Swami so frequently and so all the time. We could sit at his feet for hours and hours and hours, and he would talk so continuously. I think for one, I confess to him all the time, I did take a lot of it for granted, but it all held me in good stead. So anyway, one of these times he was talking to me and he said, the way Swami looks at, how to free you first from all these external tribulations that you go through. So he looked at me and he said, what is your father's name? I said, Swami Shrikant. I said, no. His name is Neelakant. I'm sitting there and I said, Swami, I think I should know my father's name. So he looks at me and says, Neelakanta. And you have that very good man for a father, and therefore you have to change his name when you're with me, and from now on his name will be that. So I said, all right, Swami, I'll always call him that in your presence. My father had my parents basically, I came from a very poor family. My father was put 100 rupees in his pocket and send him out for 5 minutes. He'd come with his pocket empty. He would give it away to whoever it had to be given away to. Whoever asked for it, he would give it away. We went through a lot of financial strife and struggles. There were times when, before I joined Swami's institution, when I didn't know where my next meal would come from, or we as a family didn't know. We were going through a lot of hardships. And it was always playing on my mind when Swami would talk to me and Swami would spend time with me when I was in the institution. So one day what happened was, we were sitting in front of Swami and he came by and he said, let me sign your photographs. I gave him my photographs. I had something like 25 or 30, and patiently one after another, with blessings, with love, with blessings, with love. He kept signing and signing and signing. And I collected all of them and I sat down. When I was sitting down, he shifted his right leg. And I saw a small little envelope under his feet. Now, I didn't make any connection. I was so euphoric, as we always are with Swami, thought suspends. You're just caught up in the same infinitude. And I just picked it up and held it in my hands. 10 minutes later, he did his rounds, went back to the ashram. And then he sent word saying, I dropped an envelope. Would you find out who got that envelope? I was sitting, I didn't even know that I had this envelope. I just picked it up with all that mass of photographs that I had. And then suddenly, while leafing through, I suddenly saw that envelope and I told my warden, sir, I have this. It is Swami's, you should give it. And I think so. I don't know where I got this envelope from. He took it inside. Swami said, yes, this is the exact envelope. There was 100 rupee note in that envelope. Swami had brought it out to give it to us Arike boys to buy laddus for all of us, to give it to the warden, buy them laddus. 100 rupees a day you can get, a truckload of laddus. So, and then the warden said, coming out, he said, Swami said, tell Coconut Tree that Swami is very happy and that he will take care. That's the first time he had told someone else to tell me something. So I said, he will take care. I wondered what the connection was. Swami always takes care of everything, Why especially now? What is this all about? I have to tell you this, brothers and sisters. I came home, and maybe because I had found that 100 rupee note, that my warden, I have to tell you this, I am sorry. My warden said to us, see, we will buy you laddus with another 100 rupee note. This was under Swami's feet. It is sacred. We are going to put it in the front office at Arike as an offering from the Lord. It was like, I said, wow. Somehow I felt I had a hand in this whole thing, and I felt very proud of myself. And rightfully so. I went home, and I have to tell you this. I have no hesitation in saying this. It's a personal thing, but this is all Swami's. Over the period of the next 6 months, every problem my parents had financially resolved itself. One miracle after another. My father must have owed hundreds of thousands of rupees those days to a lot of people because of some wrong moves that he had made with his business and stuff like that. There were people who would come to my father and say, it's okay, let's write it off. We thought about it, you're a very good man, we don't want to take money. There were instances like that happened in my house over the next 6 months. There were people who suddenly came back and said, we don't need you to pay anything right now, you can pay whenever you want. Everything that was a mountain of debt on our house seemed to go away in a heartbeat. And I went back to Parthi and I said, Swami, that 100 rupee note I found was the best thing that I ever did, Swami. And he looked at me and he said, the beautiful, infinitely kind eyes of his, and he said to me, why do you worry? What is money to Swami? Now, yochisadra sakanama, it will rain money. We often hear these stories. We hear them over and over and over again. But brothers and sisters, I am no different from you. You're all my forms, and obviously I am another form of you, and we're all his forms. This happened to all of us. And it's so beautiful when it happens with such a nonchalance with this Lord. He just dismissed it. Literally dismissed it. For 20 years, my parents, whatever they'd gone through, he dismissed it in a heartbeat. That's how infinite this Lord is. He freed me from that external burden and conditioned me for being able to accept the spiritual part of what he had to offer. How Swami frees us from perception. Oh, this is beautiful. I got to tell you this. You may have heard me say this many times, but the Lord always fashions it in his own way. One of the things about me I was very proud of when I entered Swami's institution was my height. It's always nice to look down upon people as well. So I was actually, being at the end of the class, being at the end of the line, I was like, it's like I voted like something. It was a big ego thing. And once I was walking past Swami, this was very early in my relationship with Swami. I just met him, and I was walking by. I was the last boy, and he waited for everybody. He was finding everybody into the interview room. We were all walking into the interview room. And then when my turn came, he did this. He didn't do this. He did this. So I stopped and I prostrated myself. He did this. And he said, "Yeshtuddha nivu?" He said, "How tall are you?" I said, "Swami, I think I'm around 6'6". I don't know. I must be around that much." So he said to me, "Better than sadhu, buddhi belsi." It's always, he said, it's enough of growing physically tall, start developing your head. And then when I was touching his feet for Bharat Namaskar, he hit me on my neck really hard. I mean, it really hurt. So I looked up at him, and then he looks at me and he says, "You won't grow anymore." My mother was very afraid because those days she took me to a doctor the holiday before who took a X-ray of my pituitary, and the doctor assured her that I would grow to 7'3" or 7'4". And my mother was, right now I can't even find shoes for the fellow. How am I going to do anything? I have not grown half a centimeter since this divine doctor hit me on my neck and said, "This is it." And he changed the perception of mine, that it is in the expansivity of the mind and the soul that really attracts. It's not how big or physically you look. And it's this perception we have of ourselves that Swami, in a matter of a fraction of a minute, he changed so many things for me. Because I cannot imagine myself having been 7'3" anyways. And I didn't know any doctor who could do anything to really, those days medical science, you could do nothing to really control your height. But that is Swami, as we know. More about perception. When I was in Alike, I always thought to myself, I always said, I know Swami wants me to continue in Alike and then to Whitefield, and then Bhakti was just coming on board. I always wanted to be, I wanted to finally end up as a lecturer, as one of the people in Alike. And I must tell you this because it is so important for all of us. My parents had different ideas. They wanted me to go to engineering, and they wanted me to do something else with my life. And I confess, at some point I told myself, I can do engineering, and then I'll ask Swami what Swami wants me to do. See, we do this, right? We don't completely all the time allow Swami to run everything in our lives. We have that little eye that gets in the way. So, Swami obviously knew this. So, one of the days when I was planning to leave Alike, he said to me, "So, what do you want to do?" I said, "Swami, it is all yours. Whatever you want me to do, I will do." And then he said, yes, but I think you want to go to engineering, don't you? I said, "Swami, my parents want me to go, but I don't know. I was very young, I was confused, I really didn't know. I wanted to do what Swami wanted me to do, but my parents' pressure was so much." He told my teachers, he really wants to stay. His parents are the ones who are really asking him to go. How Swami protects. I will tell you the truth. A part of me actually wanted to do engineering because I was always, from a very young age, very, mechanical in nature, and I really wanted to do engineering. And then he comes inside to me and he tells me, "See, I've told them that your parents want you to go, but I know that you really want to do engineering, and I want you to do engineering." So I went home. But that time, all this confusion, I was too late to apply for engineering. There were no seats, there was nothing left. But then, my faith in Swami, I said, Swami said I will go to engineering, I will go. I just put in my papers at the last minute. The time for applying had already passed. Somehow, miraculously, Swami had kept it open for one more week. There was no way I would have known, no way anyone would have known. And there was one last seat in the college I wanted to study. How that seat became open, who left, nobody knows. It's almost like the Lord created a seat for me for that instant. And I said to Swami later on, after the first semester, Swami, you created that seat for me, didn't you? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, you wanted to go, so I had to do something. I had to create a seat for you. Because, how could I disappoint you and your parents? He said. See, there's two things that I'm trying to convey here to myself more than anybody else. One is, surrender is either 100% or not at all. If faith is not surrender, he was trying to tell me, it isn't faith. It really isn't faith. There is no point in that. With Swami, you have to really take it to the hill, or it doesn't really matter too much. But, having said that, he still protected me, protected my interests, my divine friend who cannot let me down. He stood up for me. He gave me what a part of me truly wanted, knowing that it is someday a time will come when I will definitely, like he says, give him what he truly wants. So that was the beautiful part about how Swami altered some of the perceptions that I had. Another beautiful incident. Suddenly I went to Swami after my engineering and said, Swami, I would like to go abroad. I would like to go to the US and I'd like to study. And then, he nodded and he said, okay, this was during Dasra time. I didn't have a chance for him to talk to me, but I was sitting in the front and he walked up to me and then he said to another boy there, he says, where is that, the holy water that Swami actually throws, as you know. He took a bucket full of that and poured it all over me, completely drenching me, and he said, he wants to go, let him go. He didn't really tell me directly, but he just said that. I went for my visa. 50 people are there in the visa room in Chennai, and everybody got their visas, all of them were rejected. 1 o'clock, all the visas are going to end. The interviews are going to end. There's no more. It's 5 minutes to 1 o'clock, and I'm sitting out there. Everyone has left the room. And I said to him in my heart, I said, Swami, I don't think I'm going to be able to go. But I make peace with it. I don't mind. If I don't get a visa, I don't get a visa. Obviously, they're not calling me. Something is wrong. I don't know what is wrong. It's okay. It's your will. He brings you to that point where you have to completely leave it to him. Where you cannot have a say about what you truly want or what you don't truly want. Where what he wants becomes the most important issue. So I said, I surrendered completely and I said, Swami, you do what you want. I really don't mind. I asked for it. If it is, it is. It isn't. Just when I said that, my number flashed up on the screen and I went there. And even before the gentleman was going to ask me questions, he had already stamped my F1 and he said, you can go. You got the visa. I have to tell you this. I really, coming from a very poor family, I didn't have much papers financially. All I had was this grace. All at the 11th hour. All after he completely surrendered. And then he makes it possible. And I came back to Bharti 2 days before I left and I said, Swami, I got my visa thanks to you. And he nodded, I wish I could really nod like the way Swami nods. Almost like, yeah, it's not a big deal. I made it possible. You can go. This is how, Swami puts you through what you think he is thinking. And you struggle so much with what you feel he's going to do. And then he brings you to a point when there is none of that left but absolute surrender. And then he grants you what you actually wanted. That has been the story of my life. He's given me everything I've asked for. At the end, He's always shown me how limited a value it truly has. All the material things that I have sought from this Lord all this has been nothing compared to the greatest gift He gave, that is Himself. If not a day passes when I sit down and, there was a time when He said to me, He said, you listen to me completely. And this is for all of us. This is for every one of us. He said, you listen to me. And I will make your life unique. Brothers and sisters, in my own experience, let it be said before the Lord, I have not always listened to Him, and yet He's always found a way to make my life unique. That is how beautiful this Lord is. That's the patience, that's the love that He has for every one of us. And no matter where we go, what we do, the struggles we go through, the times we listen, the times we don't, the times we bring in our ego, our little egos, the times we bring in all these material conflicts in front of Him, He chisels away and chisels away and chisels away like this divine artisan, never letting go, never letting go. And only a divine mother with her infinite patience can do this. No human being, not even our own mothers and our own fathers, can have that sense of patience and love that this beautiful mother has. You know how He frees us from internals? I'll be very, very, very honest in telling you this. I was born with great anger. I don't know why, but I was a very angry young boy growing up. Everybody used to tell me, you have to control your anger, you have to control your anger. And no matter how hard I tried, I could never control my anger. Swami, when I was a student, never opened or said anything to me about it. I tried very hard in life saying, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I clear that clutter out? How do I get rid of this anger? A few years ago, around 5 or 6 years ago, I had an incident where Swami showed me what is at the root of that anger and how beautifully He took it away. I do this with Swami, I'm sure all of you do, when we sit with Swami and we really, really, really put in a lot of heat into our prayers and say, Swami, I'm not happy, you've got to change this, you've got to do this, you've got to take me to that next level, I've got to drop all these things around me, I've got to progress. We have these conversations with the Lord, and I was having one of those. I said, I need you to push me, I need you to take me to another level, I need to feel something. And I was sitting with him, and suddenly, that afternoon, I was walking in my company, this is in Massachusetts, when suddenly I lost consciousness. I just collapsed on the floor. Now, I don't know why it happened at that instant, but, I was revived, and I went to the doctor. The doctor started doing his tests, and he came back to me and said, nothing is wrong. I think you must have been dehydrated or something. I said, no, I don't think so, I'm of good health. I drank a lot of water, and there should be no reason. He said, no, nothing wrong. Your heart, your lung, your head, everything checks out fine. Go. Then started a series of the same, losing consciousness kind of a thing. I couldn't believe it was happening to me, and I didn't know when it would come upon me. I would be walking, and suddenly I'd get disoriented and I'd collapse. And I didn't know how to control it. I didn't know what to do, and no doctor could tell me what was wrong with me. They said, hey, you're perfectly healthy, it's all in your head. I'm like, I have Swami in my life. There's nothing in my head other than that, but no, there's something else that's going on with you. So, at that same time, I got a promotion at my job. Swami does things. I get a promotion and I have enormous amount of work, enormous number of presentations to make. I have the CEO of the company, the CEO, everybody is there, and I don't know when I'm going to lose consciousness. I can't see anybody. My eyes would go blind. Brothers and sisters, I pray like I've never prayed before. Let it be an example. we really have to pray to Swami that hard sometimes for this Lord's heart to melt. I tried everything. I tried, the meditation, everything I used to do, nothing was helping. I was losing weight, and I didn't know what was going on with me. And I said to Swami, I said, I'm not going to go to doctors. I've had enough. This happened for 3 months, again and again and again. And, it was like, it would happen any time. I could be standing out there and suddenly I'm gone. And then one day, I sat with him that night and I said, this is it. If you do not take this and cure me tonight, let this be the last night. I have given you my life, I've given everything, and here I am sitting and you have to take care of it. And I was in, brothers and sisters, in a plane of existence I've never been before with him. So I grabbed a picture of his and stuck it to my heart. This was in Hartford, a place called East Windsor, and I took the photo off like this, and there was vibhuti everywhere. There was vibhuti cloud all over the place. And then I felt very certain that it was all his orchestrated thing. I felt very much at peace with myself. And then, again, I lost consciousness. I fell into a state of delirium. That night, it was delirium because that night, he talked to me about so many things only I knew. He talked to me about all the things that had happened to me and why this was happening and what the reasons were and what he would do to change all that. While he was talking to me, he took his little finger and put it on the top of my head, right on the very top of my head, and pressed down while blowing hairs off on the side. It was almost like it was some divine therapy that only the sweet Lord knew he was doing to me. And then while talking to me, he said a couple of things that we must all remember. I'll share one or two things with you. In the delirious state, he says to me in Kannada, look at me, he says, your Lord, I cannot walk. My hip in this physical form is bust. I sit on a chair and sometimes it is a struggle. But do I sit quietly? That is how your life has to be. I know what is happening to you. You should never, never, never question why anything happens to you, because I am in charge and not you. He brought me to the total state of surrender, brothers and sisters. I had never known that level of surrender is possible to a human being. When we get pushed to those levels, this Lord shows us how much strength He has given us that we can express out, for which He rushes to our aid and helps us. I woke up the next morning. There's another thing I have to tell you. In that delirious stage, I was actually looking around for a photograph of his which I knew had curative powers. And I couldn't find it. And then in that dream delirium, he said, you're looking for that photograph, right? Okay, here's the photograph. And he said, you have to fold it like this and put it in your wallet. When I regained consciousness, the one and only time in my life, I saw him clearly sitting by my side. And I just burst into tears. I said, Swami. And then he blessed me. And then I turned to my right, and between these two fingers was the same photograph I had been looking for in my dream. From that day, it suddenly went away. I never once again had that episode. Since that morning till today, I never had that episode. It's not in the episode alone that he freed me from something internally. That whole incident told me something that I had never experienced before. That if we can really take ourselves to that stage of surrender, if we can do it, and if we can bring ourselves to that, really, the transformation is complete and you can hold that feeling forever. And since that day to today, brothers and sisters, I am experiencing Sai in a totally different light. Nothing is so important anymore. Nothing feels of any relevance anymore. Nothing in this world is worth even sticking to anymore. In one incident, in one little thing that Swami wanted to show me, he transformed so many things internally that all that is beautiful today is all him. The reason I'm telling you this is, I would not have believed that it would be possible, but this beautiful artisan, he knows which angle that stone has to be hit before that face starts getting illumined. The power of this Lord, the timing of this Lord. You know, this beautiful mother of ours, always given to that divine dictum. There is nothing that I have ever wanted more than Swami. It took a long time. I've not always been one of those boys who's always, listen to him on everything. But this beautiful Lord makes divine investments. He knows when he's got to get me back. And that's why I started this talk with that sentence when he said, you go, I know how to transfer you. I know how to make you this diamond. I just wanted to share these experiences with you because if there's three things that I want to say about my relationship with Swami, it's been this. There was one time when I was talking to him and he said, suddenly he was talking and then suddenly he said to me, Huchi, he said in Kannada. Huchi means mad woman in Kannada. I said, Swami, am I going to go mad? You call me a mad woman. He looked at me and he said in Kannada, no, it's good to be a Huchi, except there should be less noise, he said. It's good to be a mad woman. It's good to be passionate after Sai. It's good to be that. But the purity part of it, the noise part of it is also super critical. It's taken me 30 years to fully understand that. I have thought I've understood it from day one, but only when you're really pushed and pushed and pushed do you really realize how much is left wanting. And this divine Lord, no matter whatever I did, he kept me with him, he kept me with him, he kept me with him. My parents passed away and I go to him. Such is the detachment that this Lord wants us to have. I looked at him and said, Swami, Appa Amma hortodru. I said, my mother and father passed away. He said, so what? I'm there, right? Never let us be found wanting, sisters and brothers. This Lord demands the highest. This Lord must have the highest within us. That is the one most beautiful lesson I've learned with Swami. Secondly, if we give ourselves to the Lord completely as in, what you can consciously recognize as complete and say, Swami, this is the best I've been able to do so far, and this is what I give to you as my life. No matter what we go through, for example, I was not going through a very good time in my life, and I went back to him. I was in engineering school, and I went to him and I said, Swami, is there one formula you can give me? One formula that will really change all of this, he said. He looked at me for a long time, it seemed a very long time. I was alone with him, and he looked at me for a long time, and he said, Enta formula kodu ninige? What formula should I give you? All you have to do, he said to me, is just put in the effort. And I will take care of everything. The reason I say this is, really, this is my experience. Who am I to put in the effort? I don't even exist. Even when I have not put in the effort, has he not taken care? Yes. But in doing all that, he's brought me to a stage, and I'm sure he has brought all of you to that stage, when we realize that, you know, we wake up in the morning and you look at yourself and you say, it's all Him. Every minute, every step, every breath, everything you interact with, everything, all of it, everything is all Him. It really, there is no us, there is no me, there is nothing. But it takes so long a time and so many times as they have to beat that into your throat. Such a long, long struggle that we have gone through in all our lives with Him. And then in the same interview, He said to me, anytime you feel that you are missing me, all you have to do is close your eyes, take my name, and say, Swami, I need you. You know, the formula seems very simple, right? I mean, we have all heard this. We close our eyes, we say, Swami, then. But it really is true. What he was trying to tell me is, if you really choose to believe that, if you really choose to put it in practice, it is true. Because that is what happened to me 3 years ago, sisters and brothers. He brought me to a stage when no matter how hard I prayed, it wasn't enough. No matter how much I surrendered, it wasn't enough. It had to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper to bring all of your sense of self out of it and say, Lord, there is nothing else but you. Son.
Sairam, thank you, Brother Dayanand. That was a wonderful and inspirational speech. Everybody in the Flushing Sai Center want to join and thank you for the wonderful speech. Thank you. As a small token of our affection and thanks, I'd like to request a brother, a devotional coordinator, Dayanand, to give you a small token of our affection. Sairam.
Shakti.